Hi and welcome to the ETA DVD on Massage for Sports and Fitness. My name is John Hooper and we'll be going through some of the primary techniques used in the exercise and fitness environment to help you to deal better with your client's basic problems. It's important that you understand that this massage DVD is to be used in conjunction with your massage manual in order to develop the knowledge, skills and competencies that are required in order to be efficient and effective and most importantly safe when working with your client base. Before we start with specific massage routines and techniques, I'd like to take you through some basic principles. The first of which is the consideration of our table height. This is important to ensure that we don't end up with back, neck and shoulder problems, the very things that we're trying to avoid with our clients. The table should be plus minus the height of our first knuckle, and it is easily measurable by simply letting your hand rest against the table. Our second consideration is going to be towards client comfort. And here we're going to pay particular attention to the use of bolsters or pillows to ensure that the client is adequately comfortable. Another consideration we have is to ensure that only the part that we're massaging is exposed. And this means that the use of towels to cover the parts of the body that are not being massaged is really important. When it comes to the application of the oil is never applied directly onto the client, but rather is placed first in your hands, pre-warmed, and then applied from top to bottom. Massage is done primarily in the direction of the muscle fibers. This means that our direction is going to be longitudinal or parallel to the muscle fiber. The second consideration revolves around venous return. In order to ensure that we are assisting venous and lymphatic return, our techniques are going to be from the distal to the proximal part of the limbs. The final consideration is that as much as possible, we want to massage from attachment point to attachment point. So in the case of the gastrocnemius, we must remember that the attachment point is above the knee, and so our massage of gastrocnemius is going to cross the knee joint. Likewise, when it comes to hamstrings, hamstring crosses the knee joint, and we need to start the technique below the knee. When it comes to specific massage techniques, it's important that we understand that all massage has its origin in Swedish massage. Hence the names are all based on French words, such as effleurage, petrissage, tapotement, and then we have specific techniques to be utilized in a sports and exercise environment, such as deep strokes and frictions. In all of these techniques, we need to consider three components. They are speed, depth, and surface area. The speed at which we do our massage is going to determine its outcome. In order to ensure that our massage is effective, we need to travel reasonably slowly. Most of the time we want to travel slow enough that the body has a chance to adapt to the pressure and that we are therefore effective. The exception to this is going to be pre-event massage, where our technique is going to be very much faster and therefore more superficial. The second consideration is going to be the depth or pressure that we apply to the client. For most of our techniques, we need to ensure that we are getting to the deeper structures, and we need to ensure that our pressure matches that need. There is a limit to how hard we can actually press, and so at times, in order to go deeper, we may just simply decrease our surface area and thus increase our pressure. This means that at times we're going to be using our thumbs or our fingers. The first technique we're going to look at is effleurage. Here our surface area is maximum, our pressure is relatively light, and our speed is generally slow. This technique is used to begin our massage, to join various techniques, is part of our palpation, and is used at the end as a finishing off stroke. Our second technique is petrissage. This includes kneading and knuckling. In kneading, we have a circular stroke with a pickup of the underlying tissue. This is used to increase circulation as well as warm up muscle structures. It is used on the fleshy muscles. Knuckling is a technique that pretty much describes itself. It is used either statically, with the knuckles just simply running along the length of the muscle, or dynamically, where the knuckles are used in a circular technique. The third of our techniques is topotement. Here we use a very loose forearm, loose wrists in order to achieve our techniques. These include hacking and cupping. With hacking, we're going to be using the ulnar border of the fingers on fleshy muscles. In cupping, we use a cupped hand to trap a small pocket of air, and then once again with loose wrists, we are going to apply this to the chest region. This is often best done through a towel. Two techniques that are specific to massage for sports and fitness are deep stroking, otherwise referred to as stripping, and our frictions. In deep stroking, we're going to use double thumbed along the muscle, and here our surface area is much smaller, our depth is much greater, and therefore our speed must be nice and slow. In frictions, we have two techniques, circular frictions and transverse frictions. Circular frictions are done in and around an area of tightness and are achieved either with a thumb or a reinforced thumb. Transverse frictions are the only technique where we're going to go against the muscle fiber direction. In other words, transverse. This is going to be used in areas where we have scar tissue or adhesions. Two additional techniques for massage for sports and fitness are soft tissue release and muscle energy technique. In soft tissue release, what we do is we shorten the muscle, put a block on it, creating a shortened attachment point before we lengthen the muscle again. The block can be achieved with our ulnar border, a fist, or a very specific block with our thumb. Muscle energy technique is a means of stretching a muscle structure with the utilization of PNF principles. What we do is we'll take the muscle to its available end of range, come back ever so slightly, the client will push back towards us and relax before we take it into its new end of range. Come back, push into my hand and relax, and into our new end of range. When it comes to specific massage routines, it's important that we understand that there are many different types of routines, and this is just one of many. Your routine is going to be determined by the needs of your client and the time that's available to you. For the massage routine, we're going to start with an effleurage of the entire leg, once again working from the distal part up to the proximal part. Before we concentrate specifically on the thigh, once again starting with our effleurage, moving into our petrissage, into our deep stroking, where we can also use our forearm. Our appointment techniques. And where scar tissue or adhesions might be present are deep transverse techniques. We will then return to our effleurage before joining up the calf, isolating the calf with our effleurage, moving into our petrissage, our deep stroking, specific attention is paid to the Achilles tendon, which is done on a stretch, and our techniques are done adjacent to the tendon, never on the tendon itself. The technique we're using is a circular friction. Finishing off with our effleurage and joining the entire leg, helping to flush out metabolites. For the massage routine, we'll start with an effleurage of the entire leg, working from distal to proximal, before concentrating on the hamstrings themselves. Moving into our petrissage strokes. Our knuckling. Our deep strokes using our forearm. And where necessary, where there's areas of scar tissue or adhesions, we can do our deep transverse. Finishing off with an effleurage. Joining up with the calf. from our effleurage into our petrissage. Our deep strokes. And specific attention to the Achilles, which is done on the stretch, and we utilize circular frictions adjacent to the Achilles itself. Effleurage once again, joining the entire leg and flushing out the metabolites. Massage of the back and neck. Once again, we'll start with our effleurage, covering all the muscles we're going to be working on. Pressure away from us with a light return on the way back. We're then going to divide the back into two halves and start with our knuckling. Stripping. Petrissage. Taking it up into the trapezius. Circular frictions around the scapula. With specific work done around the top end of the trapezius. Isolated stripping. Forearm work, up the back, friction around the scapula. Attachments. And effleurage to bring us round to the other side. we'll repeat the whole lot on this side too. And finishing off with an effleurage. When it comes to the anterior aspect of the leg, we once again start with our effleurage stroke before we concentrate on the quadriceps itself. Moving into knuckling, as well as using the forearm. Our deep stripping can be done either with double thumb or a reinforced fingers. Special attention needs to be done to the ITB. As well as around the knee and the vasta insertions, we will use circular petrissage in the form of frictions, both on the medial and lateral aspects. Where we find evidence of scar tissue or adhesions, once again we'll use our deep transverse. Before we finish off with our kneading, hacking, and effleurage. Moving on to the lower leg, we're going to concentrate on tibialis anterior with deep stroking with thumbs. Reinforced finger. As well as circular frictions. We'll then move on to the foot, where we'll pay attention to the plantar fascia, the tendons around the joints, particularly around the malleolus, both medial and lateral, as well as the extensor tendons on the top of the foot. Once again, we'll finish off with an effleurage, joining the whole leg back together again. Before we finish off by cutting off at the toes. When it comes to working on the chest, the obvious difference is going to be whether your client is a male or female. The male massage is going to go all the way down to the base of the chest wall, whereas your female massage is going to be limited to the towel line. Our effleurage stroke begins on the shoulder, runs down to the base of the ribs and pull back, including deltoid and our trapezius. Our deep stroking is going to include knuckling, as well as reinforced thumb, and fingers. Circular frictions can be done off the clavicle, and off the sternum, whilst our petrissage is done in a diagonal with a pickup of the pec. Specific attention to the pec attachment point is done with the arm supported above the head and our deep transverse frictions can be applied where there is evidence of scar tissue or adhesions. Once again, the massage will end with our effleurage stroke. When it comes to massaging the arm, we do not separate between anterior and posterior, but rather treat the arm as one complete massage. Once again, starting with our effleurage, Before we move on to the forearm, a wide, deep stroke. Becoming specific stripping of the extensors. And the flexors. With circular frictions around the elbow region where most of the tension is found. Biceps sheeted in this position with deep stripping. Circular frictions around bicep and deltoid attachments. Triceps is treated with the arm above the head, allowing easy access for deep stripping through the muscle belly. As well as circular frictions at the distal attachment point. When it comes to the hand, we need to pay particular attention to the palmar aspect, working the opponent's muscles as well as the intrinsic muscles of the hand. Once again, we finish off with an effleurage of the entire arm. Before coming off with the fingertips. Hopefully this DVD, when used in conjunction with your manual, will help you to develop the competencies and skills that are required to get the job done. A reminder that most importantly is your anatomy and your physiology. The more you know your muscles, the more you can apply them to your massage to ensure that what you're doing is safe, effective, and most important of all, helps get the results you're wanting. Enjoy.